Today we're going to be reviewing writing an ECR. This is not a new concept to you, but I want you to understand that as I'm going through this process, I am modeling for you what you should be doing on your own. When you are done watching the modeling portion of this lesson, you will be given a copy of my outline and your 4 paragraphs. I do not recommend that you write on this, as this is going to be a reference. I say this because on STAR, you will not be given these 2 models to use. You're going to have to pull it all together on your own. And I want you to understand you have all the tools. You've been doing this with all the short constructed responses that you have been writing. Essentially, you've been doing a small piece of the ECR. That the extended constructed response, the only difference is that you now have an introduction paragraph and you have a conclusion paragraph with 2 short constructed response answers in the middle. It's not anything you haven't already done. We're just expanding on it a little bit. So I would like you to get in this moment with me, clear all the other things you have going on, and just watch for a few minutes as I walk through the process of how I am going to write an extended constructed response. The first thing I want to do, and that I recommend you do, is read the prompt. We read the prompt first so we know what we're supposed to be writing about. So it says, read the story Fox. Based on the information in the story, write a response to the following. Explain the theme of the story. Write a well-organized informational composition that states specific evidence from the story to support your answer. Now, I want to tell you, they tell you exactly what to do. If I go back, 1, they're telling me to read the story. 2, they're telling me to explain the theme. And 3, it says to provide evidence. These are 3 things that we do anyway. So when you continue to go down, it breaks it down even further to clearly state your central idea. Now remember, our central idea is me restating the prompt. So I'm going to restate the prompt. I'm going to organize my writing just like we do in our 4 squares. And I know last year y'all did boxes and bullets, and then you wrote your essay. I'm going to kind of show you how to do kind of the same thing today. It's a little bit different in 4th grade because we don't want to repeat the same words over and over and over again. And now that we've learned about synonyms, we'll talk a little bit about finding other words to represent what the answer is. I'll show you here in a minute. So I want you to understand the basic thing about the prompt is it tells you exactly what you need to do. Read, explain the theme, provide evidence. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, I have taken the time to read the story Fox to get the idea of what the theme may be. I do know that in this story there are multiple themes, but I personally am going to focus on one of them. Like I mentioned a moment ago, we talked about in 3rd grade, you guys did a boxes and bullets, and we're going to kind of do the same thing in 4th grade as well. But again, we like to find different ways of saying the same thing. So our boxes and bullets looks a little bit different. The first thing you notice is the introduction paragraph. I'm looking for pieces to what is the prompt, And what's the answer to the prompt? Because remember, even with our short constructed responses, you still restate the question and answer the question. Well, we do the same thing in an introduction on the ECR as well. Then for our second paragraph, our first support, I want to find the evidence first. And I want to find the evidence first so that I know what I'm explaining. And then I'm going to simplify it even more and give it one word. And I'm going to do that with support too. So I need two pieces of evidence. I'm going to explain those two pieces of evidence, and then I'm going to give each of those one word. Those one words is going to help us find the synonyms for our conclusion as well. In my introduction, I know that I've got to answer the question. So what is the prompt? What did the prompt ask me to do? And it asked me to explain the theme. So what is the theme of this story? I found that the theme of this story was friendship. That's my one word answer, is friendship. If you go back to the last unit, that was one of the first questions your graphic organizer asked you was, what is one word to describe the theme of the short films that you watch or the passages? So I'm doing the same thing for this. My one word is friendship. Remember, when I go back and I look at my outline that I'm using, the first thing it said for supporting 1 and supporting 2 was to find the evidence. So I was looking for evidence to support my friendship, and I found that the second sentence in the first paragraph is a supporting piece of evidence. So I'm going to document that so I have it. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to explain this evidence. So when I explain the evidence, I notice that with it, when you are willing to help somebody, that whole idea of him bringing the injured bird back to his cave shows his kindness. And within friendship, there is kindness. And don't forget, I'm breaking it down even further into one word to summarize the evidence. And the one word to summarize this evidence I have chosen is being friendly. Remember, with an extended constructed response, we have to have two pieces of evidence, not one. So after reading it, I've scrolled down and found another piece of evidence showing that dog was being kind or friendly. And this is where, when he sees Fox, he welcomes Fox and even provides food and shelter for Fox. So to me, this is also being a sign of friendship and kindness. So I'm using that as my evidence, and now I want to explain that evidence. So when I go to explain that evidence further, I see that it's kind of welcoming others. That whole idea of him saying welcome, he welcomes everyone. He welcomes everyone he sees. And then to break that down even more into one word for somebody who is welcoming or somebody who invites others, I used the word welcoming. Now, as we get down to find synonyms, you're going to see where I've kind of changed that. But you know what? After you providing my support 1 and my support 2 and breaking it down, I'm kind of thinking I want to change my answer to the prompt. And although friendship is a good one, I have to say I found the word friendly to be a little bit better. Because even though Dog and Fox were not friends in the beginning, he was still friendly to Fox. So I changed it to being friendly. And for many reasons, we'll be able to find words that help support this a little bit deeper. If you'll notice, getting down to the conclusion, my idea of the conclusion is I want to say the same things, only a different way. So, what's another way of saying friendly? Well, kindness. So, I know that another word I can use is the theme is kindness. I also want to find synonyms for my support one and my support two. Remember, my support one was being friendly. Another word for that is being loving, being kind. My support word when I got down to number two was welcoming. Well, another way of saying somebody is welcoming is saying they accept everyone. Nobody gets left behind. And I feel like dog did that. So now I have all my pieces. I have the pieces to my introduction, my support one, my support two, and in my conclusion, I even found other words and phrases that represent the same single words to help summarize my evidence. All this does is make your writing a little bit more interesting to read. If you think about if you were reading somebody else's writing, would you want to read the same word over and over and over again? Probably not. You would get real bored. So we like to see the same definitions, the same meaning, but written in several different ways. So now I'm going to take these pieces that I have here and I'm going to start plugging them in to my essay. In the past, I gave you the 4 squares, but I also gave you the 4 squares in order. This time, I'm skipping the 4 squares. I'm just giving you the paragraphs in order. I'm doing this because I found that when giving you the 4 squares, you weren't writing your paragraphs in order. So I want to make sure that we are doing that. Being in order matters. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the pieces. So it says in the text, Fox, the theme is kindness. Now, if you notice, I did kind of change that word because as I get to thinking about all of this, it's all meaning something a little bit different. So even though my outline is there, is kindness really any different than being friendly? It's really not. But if you continue to read, I say it's because dog is friendly and welcoming. So through the character dog, we found that one of the themes is kindness. I'm then going to take the pieces that I had in my supporting and I'm going to plug those into this paragraph next into my support one. So one way the author shows kindness, now remember that was my answer, is by taking care of an injured bird. That was me explaining my evidence. And now I'm going to give my evidence. First, in the text, it says he takes her to his cave above the river, and there he tries to tend her burnt wing. That is such a show of kindness. I go on to explain this shows someone being friendly, and it does. That's dog being friendly. Now I'm going to take the pieces of my support two and plug it into my support two paragraph. As I continue, I see another way the author expresses kindness is by dog inviting Fox to stay. Then in paragraph 10, it also states, but dog says, welcome. We can offer you food and shelter. This supports the idea that others are welcome to join. These are the same conversation pieces that I had a minute ago when I showed you me breaking down or pulling out the information from my support. Now all I'm doing is plugging it into an organized manner for an essay. And then I'm going to go to my conclusion. And my conclusion is pretty straightforward and simple. It says, in conclusion, based on these details, it is clear that the theme is kindness. And now again, I've managed to change my original theme from friendship to friendly to kindness because as I started putting it together, I started realizing that I think maybe the theme was a little bit more than what I had. And that's okay. You're going to find that as you start finding evidence and breaking down your evidence even further, that your theme may end up changing. Now, let's be honest. Friendship, friendly, and kindness all go under the same category. So it's okay if it changes as long as it all means the same thing and your evidence supports. And now it is your turn. Go ahead and go pick up a copy of an outline and the paragraphs. It's front and back. It's a half sheet like you normally get for your journal. You are actually going to use this to guide you through your process of writing your ECR for a different story. I would love to see you do it on your own sheet of paper and not write on the copy that I'm giving you. Again, the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because on the STAR test, you're not going to get a graphic organizer from me. These are things you're going to have to remember on your own. So I want to start practicing doing this on our own. Now that you have the copy of the outline and the paragraphs in hand, go back to Canvas, and I have provided both the read aloud and the transcript for the story, Those Shoes. Don't forget, you're going to want to read the prompt first. Know why you're reading or listening to this story before you listen or read it. This way, as you're listening, you can kind of be looking for your evidence and the theme. These graphic organizers are actually going to be glued into your writing journal, the one that y'all like to call boring because of the boring cover. So remember, a strip of glue will do, a press will help it rest. After, write it in your TOC, then you'll be free. This was provided to you by Daphne and Anishma.